Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the In the 11 podcast. I am your host, Brendan Grivis, and this is the show where we bring on those from the world of football to show you what it takes to be in the 11 at the highest possible level. Now, I know I'm breezing through the intro here, but it's because I want to get you right over to the good stuff, right over to my interview with JC Mack. It is an incredible one. I enjoyed it immensely while I was recording it, and it's one that you're going to want to just sit back, relax, and kind of be taken away by the story that he has, because it is truly one that is noteworthy. It is truly one that is inspirational and one that I really enjoyed recording and getting out there for all of you. So the only thing that I'll ask you before I kick it right over to there is, if you like this episode, if you like this show, tell somebody about it. Tell a friend to tell a friend, so it can help the show grow that much more and the word can get out about the In the 11 podcast. Now, without further ado, let me kick it over to JC. All right, I've had this one circled for a while. Been really looking forward to finally getting it on the books and getting it recorded. But JC Mack is in the 11, and first of all, just thanks so much. I know, as you just mentioned before you hopped on, that you're coming off quite the lengthy travel experience. So I appreciate you taking some time to share your story.
No, thank you so much for having me. I've been listening to the Spotify podcast. I've been losing my mind seeing all these wonderful players and hearing their stories. I really appreciate you taking your time for me, man.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know you mentioned, I think, a couple of different episodes I had done. I saw you pop up, and you were like, "Oh, I know this player. I know this coach." It's funny how the more I do these, I'm sure you can speak to this too. That the soccer world is a lot smaller than you think. The higher up you go.
It's tiny. It's tiny and wonderful human beings like Devala Goric, one of the most incredible human beings. Cam Vickers, Mike Keeney, just all sorts of incredible stories and people. And I'm so glad that you decided to do this because there's guys I can't even imagine that I love to hear about, and I'll just click it on the plane and be like, oh my god, this guy's playing in Thailand now. I didn't even know he played football. So it's really really good to see, and I'm really happy to be part of it.
Mm. Yeah, man, I really appreciate that. That definitely means a lot to me, because it's like I hear these stories and I'm like, I'm amazed by them, and I'm like, damn, more people got to hear this. You know what I mean? So I'm like, please,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
let's get the word out there. I need people to understand, some of the things that these professionals go through. It's amazing. And I'm sure as we dive into your story here, it's gonna be no different for the people. But my question for you is this, I guess, to kick it off here is, I think you've probably touched pretty much every continent, playing the game of football. You've been all around the world. You've played just about everywhere you can imagine. Have you always had that passion or that desire for just travel in general, even if maybe football wasn't in the picture for you? Do you think you'd still be traveling in the same way?
Yeah, I probably would be. The thing that got me the most was I didn't like the United States. It's wild. I'm the first person in the
Mm,
history of my family to not be in the military. And I saw like I didn't like the political aspect of it. And I went to England when I was 12 years old and got a taste of what football from the outside looks like. And I thought, whoa, this is, I want to be that. I don't want to live there. I want to live over here. I want to see what's
yeah.
going on over here. And the Newcastle United youth team took me under their wing, and now I had to watch that trash forever. And finally, we're getting our redemption these days. But that really kicked it off. I got to see what European football was, and I said, you know what, I want to be that. And so, whatever it requires to be that, I will go wherever. I will do whatever. I do not care. I want to feel what that feels like. And when I got my first taste of it,
Mm.
I'll definitely dive into it. It was priceless. And ever since then, however I could feel that feeling, wherever it was just it's worth every second of it. And if it has to be in the jungle of Indonesia, if it has to be in the desert somewhere, I was willing to do that. So I think so. I think so.
So then, compare and contrast maybe a little bit for me, growing up where you were kind of playing some of your youth soccer in the Midwest. I know there's some Chicago, there's some Indianapolis, and then that first experience that you had. It sounds like maybe England was your first real taste of real football, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I went to England to play in an under 15 tournament when I was 12, and I literally asked my grandparents. I was selling little candy. I was doing everything because I just saw it on TV. And I went there and we played in the Manchester
Mm.
United youth tournament, and I got to see it and just was amazed. I thought, whoa, there's teams from Sweden, there's teams from Hungary, there's teams from all over the place, and they all live this. I want to live like this. So when I went back to America, when I came home to Ohio, I looked around and I thought, none of this represents what I want to be. Not any of it. I want to be a foreign player. I want to go and be something like that. And so in Columbus, we have it's just a big soccer hotbed. We have a lot of teams, and a lot of them are good. So my team would win the state cup, which would be like the big boy, bad boy situation. And then you would go to the regional tournaments, and we would get smashed by Carmel United, Chicago Magic, Chicago Soccer, Scott Gallagher, who all amalgamated their teams. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, if I want to be a foreign player, we need to figure that out. We need to practice it. How do they do it in Europe? Well, international teams will go play against another international team, and then they'll sign you to their club, and now you're a foreign player. And so I said, well, what do I have? And at the time, I had ODP, and ODP. I'm not sure if it still exists these
Mm.
days, but ODP is one of the most, let's say, expensive programs, and one of my biggest love hate relationships with American football. But my mom, a single mom, she put up all the money she could. One of my mentors, Michael Gould, who was a coach at the district level, actually ended up helping me to get into the ODP team. And we went to the regional tournament and we played against Indiana, and they're obviously right next to us. And I scored a hat trick against Indiana. I think I'm the man. I think I'm the new guy. I'm going to be this guy. And Jurgen Sommer, who went to, I think it was 98 World Cup goalkeeper, he used to coach Indy 11 as well. Well, he was coaching Carmel United, which was the big Nike club in Indianapolis. And they went to all the tournaments and got all the scholarships. And he said, well, why don't you come play with us? And my dreams just came true. I thought, this guy's played in the Premier League. He's played in Germany. He wants me to come play for him in Indianapolis with this big Nike club. Of course, I'm going to go. And this is where the beginning of the ego corrections start. And I go to Indianapolis, and unbelievable. Everything I dreamt of, they gave it to me. JC, you're the number 10 with the dreadlocks. You're the foreign player in our club. We're going to win state cup. We're going to go mash up everybody in the country. And I'm wearing Nike to school. I'm looking around people at school like, yeah, you play in Ohio. I don't do that anymore. Like, just way big ego. And I go there, and it's just phenomenal. Everything I wanted, it's phenomenal. Nike friendlies, playing against Bethesda, playing against La Jolla, playing. Our team was so good that every single one of us got Division One scholarships, all of us. And I was like, wow, this is great. But my dream was never to play college soccer. I thought I thought in my head, I'm JC Mack. I'm going to be a professional football player. This is a waste of time. So much so that I started to look at it as my best friend's a ceramic artist, and he was better than me at football, but he became a ceramic artist after he got injured. And I started to look at it that way. And I said, well, what do? They spend more hours than everybody else at this one thing. And if they get good enough at that, they sell that in a marketplace. And so I said, well, that's what I'm going to do. So, being the dummy, ego, crazy person that I was, I said, I'm not going to go to school. I'm going to go home and I'm going to practice every single day on my left foot, my right foot, my shooting, my finishing, every single day. So, there would be 3 days a week where I would just be at home, just going to the football pitch, going to a wall and practicing every day. And my mom's getting called. And mind you, my mom now has a PhD in education administration. So this is like the highest form teacher that you could have. And she's a single mom, so she can't leave. She can't leave work. So I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, you're not going to do anything. I'm going to go practice this, and at the end, I'm going to be something you're really proud of. She's getting calls from the schools. Where's JC? She's like, is he not at school? No, he's probably playing football. And so I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And it just became, this is what it's going to be. So at around 17 years old, my mom comes to me and she says, hey, Jay, we can't afford to send you to college. Like, you have to get a scholarship. And Jurgen, the coach at Carmel, he saw that the same thing. Like, all this poor single mom, JC's out here not going to class. We're never going to get him to get a scholarship. It's going to be crazy. Like, no matter how good your grades are, if you're not going to class, how are you going to do it on your own? Like, there's no chance. But in my mind, I'm like, we're not going there. That's a waste of time. In my head, I'm thinking, you guys play for 3 months a year. I'm trying to go play for 10 months a year. I'm going to beat you. And this is why you guys can't keep up with the Europeans, because in your formative years, you get to 17, 18, 19, 20, you're playing a grand total of 12 months while they're 3 years ahead of you. And you'll never catch them after that. And this is what my brain thought at the time. Meanwhile, all this is going on. I'm scoring crazy goals, playing sweet for Carmel, just ego going crazy, thinking I'm the next second coming. And I get
Mm.
the most beautiful reality check, the most wonderful thing that's ever happened in my life. So I graduate high school, and Jurgen has seen this. He sees, like, you need to get drowned, and I recommend this to all young players from the United States. I recommend this highly, to be drowned in the depths, Game of Thrones style, like Greyjoy style drowned. And Jurgen said, we've got a couple offers on the table now. So Indiana has offered a full scholarship. The University of Akron has offered a full scholarship. New Mexico, Maryland, um, NC State, a bunch of, like, these are big schools. Like, these are, people dream to get
Yeah.
out of here and get full scholarships here. Well, Caleb Porter was at Indiana and was recruiting me to play at Indiana. And he takes the job at Akron. And in my head, I'm like, I'm from Ohio pretty much. I don't really want anything to do with this place. Like, I want to go play in Europe. I've been going every year trying to get on. This is not what I'm about. Well, Caleb comes to me and says, let's come for a visit. Come see. So he brings my mom up there, brings me up there. I look around and this team is baller. Like, this team is a baller, bad boy team. And they play European football. And in my head,
Mm.
I just thought, you guys don't play European football. Like, college is the biggest waste of time. I'm not going to be able to get where I want to go with you guys. I don't want to play in the MLS. I don't want to do any of that. And Caleb looks at me and smiles, and he knows the truth. Yeah, you're fast. Yeah, you can shoot really well. You don't play defense. You're not developed. But he and Jurgen encouraged me and said, if you believe this is what you want to do, we'll help you. We'll help you do it. And so right, my first day after high school, they said, let's go. If you want to go that way, let's go. So they take me to the Chicago Fire. First day I show up, Dave Saracen gets fired within 20 minutes of my arrival. I show up and I shake his hand. Nice to meet you. I said, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. He's like, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm gonna go upstairs. I'll be down to training in a little bit. So I go downstairs and I look around, and these are all guys that were, like, on my wall. I start to get the actual fear. For the first time, I feel this, whoa, okay, you're
Mm.
in it now. You're in it now. And I go out to training. Uh, the assistant coach comes out and says, hey, so Dave's been let go. I'm going to be taking the team now. And we're going to go ahead and start with six, I think it was 6v6 rondos or something, like 6v6v6 or something like that. And I drowned.
Okay.
Absolutely drowned. My vision wasn't good enough. My passing wasn't good enough. Stamina wasn't good enough. And I mean, you're a 18-year-old high school boy against a 27-year-old, who was it? Kalen Carr at the time was there. Like these guys are ballers. They've been playing a long time. And
Yeah.
I went after the training, I sat in the house and I thought, what have I done? What have I done? And I think about a month goes by.
So
And
that feeling, is it coming from like when you're like, as you said, drowning, right? Is that coming from your own understanding of where you're at in the training session, or is that coming
yeah.
from the other players? Like, are they getting on you immediately, and that's how you're like, "Ooh, I'm out of my depth," or is it coming from the coaching staff? Like, talk to me about that feeling you're having when you're in that training
Oh,
session.
it was crazy because I'm in the session and I'm breathing really heavy. It's super hot. It's like middle of almost June, and I'm looking around and I'm just seeing everyone's as fast as me now. Everyone's stronger than me now, and you can't run away from someone. And I don't
Mm,
have the at this point before I became a service player, all I was just a finisher. I didn't have any idea of how to break someone down. I didn't understand how to read the game correctly, and the other players in our team would just pretty much not say anything. They recognized it immediately. Like, oh, this is a child. Like this is a boy. We're not going to get on him about anything.
mm.
We're gonna try to help him the most we can, but he's not going to be around very long. And in my head, I'm seeing it go around. I'm seeing the ball move so fast, and I realize like I don't have the next pass in my head. I don't know what it is. And
Yeah.
so I would get it and I'd look up, gone. I'd get it again. I'd try to do something like tricky. He's read it. And I'm like, oh no, oh no, this is what it actually is.
Yeah, and for
This
people
is real
listening, like,
football.
doing that is it's like light years that you're taking. To
It's
be able to receive
leaps.
the ball, then make your decision, like, it doesn't work like that.
Not at all. Not at all. And I'm a 18-year-old boy. I thought I was DeMarcus Beasley. I thought I was Landon Donovan. I thought I'm going to be in the national team. This is whatever, blah, blah, blah. And when I called Jurgen, I said, Jurgen, you're right. You're right. I'm not ready. I need to develop. And he said, okay, so what are you going to do about it? And I said, I'm going to put more hours than my current peers. And my current peers are now freshmen in high school. So I decide after that, we got to go find a place to develop. And so I start looking around. I start emailing I don't even know how many emails I sent to every club on earth. And one of the smartest things I did was I had
Yep.
all of my all of my video. I had all of my video ready to go. So I would send this is to this day I still keep it that way. And I had all my video ready to go and I sent it to club to club to club to club to club. And this is the early days of YouTube. So where they would pick it up and be, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. So I emailed a team called W Connection in Trinidad because I saw them in the Champions League, the CONCACAF Champions League in Trinidad. And I thought, I can do that. They're a smaller country. Their team is good. I can go down there and do that. So I emailed them, and about a month later, I get an email back, and they said, yeah, come on down and test with us. So I get on a plane, I go down there, and I test with W Connection, and I play sweet. It wasn't as fast, it wasn't as crazy. The level was still quite good. I would probably put it about a Division One, about a USL 1 team or so at the time. And I thought, oh, I can do that. And they offered me a deal. One of the worst decisions I ever did was not take that deal. This team offered me $500 a month.
Mm.
They gave me a house, all my food, and 2 training sessions a day, all on national TV. You're going to play Champions League. Everything you want to do to start, you could not have a better start than that. The coach of the team has a Brazilian coaching
Yeah.
license. You could not ask for anything better than that. But because I had been playing so well,
So you
I
gotta tell me then, what's going through your head?
I'm thinking. So I'm in Trinidad, and I'm thinking, this isn't my dream. I want to play European football. This is not what I had thought about.
Wow.
This isn't it. And $500 a month, I'm worth more than I'm supposed to be Generation Adidas. Blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking like I'm the man still. After just getting drowned, the game finally opened up for me, and I
Mm.
I said no. Another club calls me from Peru, Alianza Lima, and I go down there, and they say, "Okay, we'll let you play with our under 20s for $0, but you'll have a house and food and all that, and you can develop here." And I just thought, I'm not going to be stuck in Peru playing in Peru. So I come back home. Two offers completed. I said no. Well, Chicago Fire calls again, and they say, "Hey, are you still available to play?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm still here. I've been trying to get everywhere." And they're like, "Well, why don't you come play with our under 20s?" And one thing I understood about Chicago is they produced, at that time, they had produced the most players. They had produced all of these guys that were just
Mhm.
coming out of their PDL team, their under 20 team. And I thought, if I'm going to develop, I might need to do it in this context because they know me. They know where I'm from, that I'm closer to home. It's a place where I can develop for a year and I can go. So I go into this under 20 team and just kill it. All the players around us, they're all the highest level trying to get in the PDL, trying to get into the MLS. And we win an under 20 national championship. I'm playing great. I think I'm one of the top goal scorers. And we play the national championship against Toronto Lynx at the time, I think they were called. And I played great. And at that tournament, a French agent was just watching it. He was just there. And he comes up to me after the game and he's like, "Do you want to go to play in France?" Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. 100%, that's what I want to do. I don't speak French.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Yeah, I don't speak French. I don't have any knowledge of French football other than like I support PSG from the Ronaldinho days. But other than that, I don't know anything about it. And he's
Mm.
like, "All right, well, let's go." So I start. What was I doing? I was working for my best friend's mom, and they were cleaning like bank-owned homes. And I went home for a couple months to get all this money together, and I'm going into like these abandoned buildings, picking up stuff. I'm shoveling mulch everywhere, just like hard labor, and it's really just weighing on me. Like, what did you do? Like, you were meant to be Generation Adidas. You were meant to be like Nike Project 40. You're supposed to be this guy, and now you're in an abandoned building scraping homes to get a chance to go to Europe. And it was just a serious reality check that over my career I've learned to accept instead of like fight against. Where I know a lot of players, that is the turning point. It's either the turning point or it kills you off. And I decided that this is
Mm.
short term. This is just the petrol that puts jet fuel in the plane. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna put my headphones on. I'm gonna listen to Modest Mouse or 50 Cent or whatever I gotta do, and we're gonna get there. So I stack all these little pennies up,
Yeah.
and I go to France, and it's real now. So I get to
Yeah.
France.
It's so funny when you were mentioning about like working the hard labor jobs. I think so many players have a moment like that or an experience like that. And this will probably sound silly to a lot of people listening, but I think for me, I always kind of treated it a little bit like this was my like montage movie scene. You know what I mean? Like this is the part
Yeah,
where I'm like
yeah,
grinding and doing the work behind the scenes to then all of a sudden then you have that moment where you're like in the stadium in front of people and then you understand the kind of buildup that got you to this point, but not everybody got to see it, and one day you'll get to share it to
yeah,
the world. And it's funny because it's like in a way I almost romanticized it a little bit, those hard jobs. Oh, nobody else is willing to do it. I'm willing to do it. You know what I mean?
yeah. You do, and you should do, and you should do because most of them won't. Like that's the I take great pride in it now, like from all of those times I had to do it. And I just thought, I'm gonna write this in a book one day. This is gonna be a crazy story. And a lot of guys don't feel
Yeah.
it that way. They don't feel it that way. They feel like, oh, I'm a failure, or this is like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, which is as much as as good as it is to have, as necessary as it is to have a university degree in the United States, a lot of guys that have their degree done, they will walk away. They will walk away when there's an option to be like, well, I'll go work at the insurance company and take my 85K or whatever. A lot of them will walk away. And at that point, I didn't have the option. And in my head, there was never another option. I said, this is what it's going to be. And if it requires that I have to scrape pond scum out of a pond, or if I have to go scrape chicken coops or whatever I got to do, that's what's going to happen, because the end goal is all that matters. And so that's what I did. I did all of those things, and I went to France. I show up in France, and it's the agent that brought me there is of Congolese descent. He played in France in the lower leagues, and he sent me to his family's house. And so I go to his family's house for a couple days in Paris, and he says, "We got a trial for you." And I was like, "Sweet, where's it at?" It's in Caen. Well, the family thought it meant Cannes, Cannes. Caen is way up in the north, and they're at the time I think they were in League Two. They're in the second league, and I was meant to play in their second team. And they send me to Cannes during the Cannes Film Festival. So I go down there. I have about, I don't know, $10 left on credit on my phone. I spent everything I had just to get over there. And I get down to Cannes, to the train station, and I lose my passport. I lose my wallet. My phone has $10 of credits left on it.
Oh my God.
And now I'm here with these two bags, and I'm in the train station in Cannes, and I'm like, what is going on? So I call him. I'm texting him. I'm like, "Hey, I'm here. Nobody's here." He's like, "They're in the train station looking for you. Like, what's going on?" And I'm like, "I'm sitting here. There's nobody here." Beep 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 beep. I now have no phone. I now have no wallet. I now have no language. I have no passport. Nothing. You're just a guy. You're just a guy in the train station.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, I'm under 20 national champion. I'm meant to go play in the second league of France. I'm supposed to be this guy. You are now a homeless person, is what you are. You are sitting in the center of. I'm seeing all these stars walk around. I'm seeing like, and this is like when Twilight came out, and I'm seeing Robert Pattinson walk around the street. I'm seeing like Johnny Depp walk around, and I'm like, what is going on right now? And so for so for 3 days, I sleep on a park bench during the Cannes Film Festival, not knowing what to do.
Oh my
Just
God.
sat there thinking, feeling sorry for myself. What am I gonna do? And I ended up amalgamating like a bunch of little coins, and I call my mom, and I call her, and I'm like, "Mom, I'm stuck here. I don't have any money. I don't have anything. My passport's been lost. Like I don't have anything left." And this lady, mind you, I'm the first one to not be in the military ever, my mom included. This is a lady who was like, when I was young, we were in a homeless shelter. And this lady's has a PhD, now lives in the woods in some crazy house, driving crazy. This lady has been an unbelievable example of how to succeed through life. The first thing I'm thinking is, oh, she's going to
Yeah.
help me. She could, with the snap of a finger, she could stop all of this. She says, problem solve, figure it out. Click. The best thing that has ever happened to me.
Oh, mic drop.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this lady is an unbelievable human being. And she just hung up the phone and said,
Yeah,
figure it
that's
out.
so gangster to do that.
Yeah, yeah. She said, you want to be this? This is what it's going to be then. And so I'm sat there, and I'm like, I don't even speak French. Nobody around me speaks English other than these superstars that won't get near me because I'm this dreadlocked kid with two duffel bags. And so I sleep again. This is now day 4, day 5, sleeping on a park bench. I don't have any more money left. And all I have is a list of people I'm supposed to meet in my notebook. And so I said, all right, let's problem solve then. What skills do you have? Well, you can play football. What opportunities are there here? Well, there are a whole country of football clubs. Let's walk to the closest football club and ask them what's up. And so I think it was 4Ks away, 5Ks away, and I've got these huge bags. And I said, all right, we're going to go to ISCON, the closest football club that I thought maybe was where I'm supposed to be. They're in the third league at the time. So in my head, of course, somehow being homeless on a park bench at the time, I still believe that like I belong in League Two. Like, so I don't know what. Oh my lord! So somehow I decide, all right, I'm going to walk there. So I walk over there. I get in the club. They bring a young kid that's in the training session who speaks English, and I tell him, hey, I'm supposed to meet all these people. Like, what do I do? So he brings me into the coach. The coach knows the guy on the paper, has played with him before, as the tiny world of football is. And he calls him up. He says, "Hey,
Mm,
I have your boy here. What's he doing here?" He's like, "We've been looking for him for 4 days. We thought something happened to him. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Like, hold on a second. Let me talk to him." And I'm like, "Hi," and in this thick, super deep accent, he's like, "Are you okay? Like, we've been looking for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here in Con." They're like, "Oh, they sent you to the wrong city. That's okay. We're gonna bring you back to the agent's house." So they give the phone back to the coach. He hands me an envelope of money. He says, "Here, come with us. Eat at the youth team club, at the youth team like mess hall and stuff." And he's like, "Do you want to train with us today?" And I was like, "Of course I want to train with you today." And so I go and train with their under 23s at the time,
mm,
and I'm playing sweet. Everything's going great. I feel a whole new lease on life. I'm not hungry anymore. I'm not tired anymore. Like at this point, I had eaten out of the trash. I had taken down to the point where I said, if I see anything, I'm going to eat. I need to. It's 3 days. Like there's no nothing, and
yeah.
I feel a new lease on life. I get out. I start playing sweet, and the coach is like, "Whoa, well, hold on a second here. Maybe you should stay with us." So he calls the agent back, and the agent's like, "No, no, 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 no. He's not staying with you. He's coming back up." So I pack up my bags, get on the train, and I go back up. I go to the embassy, get a new passport. I take that money and just put it in my pocket. And they take me to a club in the north called Tourcoing. Caen has now passed. They have already signed a new player. They said, this is ridiculous. We're not dealing with this. So they send me to a team called Tourcoing, which is a historically really good development club. Johan Kabay is a production of this club. I think Didier Drogba played for them. There's a Canadian guy named Nicholas Kozlowskis who played there as well. Very good production of young players. And I go there, and they're playing down, I think, the fifth or sixth division in France. And he puts me up with the Congolese family that his family's with. And now I'm just outside of Lille. I'm playing lower league French football, and the the head of the house, his name was Tito, Papa Tito. And in this house, it's 5 bedrooms. It's me, his wife, the aunt, the maid, the maid's daughter, and his 2 kids in this 5 bedroom house. And I'm sleeping on the floor. And I'm sitting here looking around. All right, this is the reality check you asked for. This is what's going to happen. So I go to training. Everyone's super cool. I come back from training, and Papa Tito comes to me. And he says, "JC, you have 2 choices here. You have 5 days of English left. You can learn French, or you can learn Lingala." And I'm like, "There's no chance I'm going to learn Lingala. There's no way. There's no chance in the world." So he said, "French it is." So every day, I'm with the kids now, and we're speaking French. They're teaching me little things. I get a little book. I start to learn it. And over time, it's just immersion. And you're there and you get it, and now you're immersed in it, and it
Yeah.
turns out great. So I'm playing with Tourcoing. Everything's going good. I'm playing striker. I'm scoring goals here and there. But the coach has seen that we don't have any left-footed players on our team, and I'm the youngest now. So he says, "JC, come with me." He takes me aside and he says, "We don't have any left-footed players, and we need a left winger to serve the ball because we have a big man striker. You are now going to be our left-footed player." At this point, my left foot is marginal. at best. And this guy takes me aside. He says, every day from now on, every day from now on, you and I are going to be together and we're going to be practicing your left foot. The rain, the snow, the sleet. He takes a tennis ball. He's with me every day against the wall. He'll stand there in the rain after training and wait for me to hit 500 balls against the wall. He'll be there with a tennis ball. He'll be there with um, all the team meals. I'm required to eat left-handed. This guy is a psychopath about having his
Oh my
team
god.
succeed, and he's an absolute psychopath. But it worked, and we ended up getting promoted. I think in third place behind SC Sedan, the second team of Sedan, and the most incredible experience. And I learned how to move the ball on the floor. Everybody's faster than you. Everybody's quicker than you. Everybody's stronger than you. They're all
Mm,
from Africa. They're all more skillful than you. They're all from Algeria. You'll never be more skillful or more athletic than the people around you. So I had to learn how to play football, how to connect 1 and 2 passes, how to use your left foot, all the developmental things that I asked for, that I didn't believe I would get at university, that I didn't believe that in a way lesser form than I could have got at in the Champions League with W Connection or in Alianza Lima. So by having that ego check, I ended up receiving all the things that I needed. And I could not have asked for it in a better way. And when I received my first paycheck, Brennan, I'm telling you right now,
mm,
my first paycheck from Tourcoing FC
yeah.
is still the most incredible moment ever. 368 euros and 44 cents. It felt like $365 billion. Like it was when I received it and saw my name on it. I didn't even have a bank account yet. And I just saw my name on it and I thought, wow, this is
Yeah, it's real now.
unbelievable that all of this hard work can do this. And after that, I started to feel like, yeah, it's real. And you'll know just as much as me. The first one you get, it's it's more than anything you could imagine. And after that, I was like, all right, let's do it, and just started giving everything. And right after the season ended, I went home to America, and I said, okay, let's prove the point now. Let's prove the point now. And I wanted to show everyone in America that had been doubting me, that had been saying like, oh, JC fell off. He was meant to be this baller, and now he's playing in France in the lower leagues. I wanted to come back to America and show them like, no, you guys are the clowns. You guys are the guys that wasted all your time. You are the guys that didn't go through all the rain and the sleeping in the park bench and eating out of the trash and walking kilometers to a club. You didn't do that. I did that, and I'm going to show all of you now. Here we go again. Here we go again with the ego blow. And so I come back to America, and one of the things that this is one of the mottos that one of my friends, Pachu, I played in Iceland with. He said, "Destiny will find you."
Mm,
He always used to say this when people would be cheating in the rondo, like not trying to go in, or people like playing passes that are too hard. He'd be like, "Don't worry, the game will correct for you. Don't worry, destiny will find you." And I really believed that. I really believe that. If you cheat the game's going to cheat you. The game will correct for you the same way that you correct for the game. And I learned it through this when I came back to America. I came back and I said, all right, let's go play in the USL. But not just in the USL. I want to play for the best team in the USL. And so I go to Charleston and I email them and talk to them. And um, they were like, we don't know who you are. We have no idea what you're talking about. If you want to come here, you can
mm,
come to our open trial if you want. And they're champion of the USL at this point for 2010. So they're champion. And I think like I
yeah.
deserve to just walk in their league. And they're like, you can come trial if you want in an open trial with all these other people. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? They're like, nah, you can come open trial. So I go down there and I'm like, all right, you think I'm playing with you. So I go down there to their open trial, smash that off, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to offer me the deal now. I get the email, well, you can come to our invitational trial now.
More hoops to jump
And I'm
through.
like, did you not just watch what I watched? Are we in two different universes? More hoops. You know just as much as me, as much as all these other
Yeah.
guys like Cam Vicker. They all know it's hoops and hoops and hoops. And this is one of the reasons why I didn't
Yes.
like playing in America was because of all of these barriers to entry that they would put in the way. And so I come to the invitational trial. I said, okay, you guys think I'm playing with you? So I came back and scored. We played all the college teams and just battered them out, battered them out. And at the very end, Mike Enhauser comes to me and he says, "You know what? I didn't think you were going to make it. I didn't believe that you were going to make it through all these people." And I made it through. They offered me the deal, and now I play for the champion of the USL, Charleston Battery, in the best stadium, one of the oldest clubs. And I'm looking around thinking, yeah, we're on now. We're on now. Season goes pretty well. It's here hit and miss. It's when Orlando City comes through. Everything's all right. Um, and after the season, I go to Denmark just to go train
Hmm.
and get ready because I have another season with Charleston. So they allow me to go to Denmark, and this is what changed my life. So obviously, I don't really like living in America that
Yeah.
much, other than Charleston's a great city. But I go to Denmark. Denmark is the greatest country outside of New Zealand and the Virgin Islands. Denmark might be the greatest country on earth. I trained there with a club called FC. It really is. Like, it was my utopia of all life. Like, everything's clean, everyone speaks English, and I had no intention of playing in Denmark. I looked at Scandinavia like the shortcut at this point. I'm like, oh,
Mm,
you play in Sweden, you play in Denmark, you don't play in France. You don't play in
yeah.
Spain. You don't play in Portugal. That's what I thought at the time. And I go to Denmark and realize, whoa, this level is high. This is super high level football. It is very hard. Everyone's very physical. It's very cold. This is not a joke. It's a great country. And I come back to Charleston, and I'm like, yeah, this is that. I want to go over there. This is sweet. And Charleston season goes okay. They bring in a guy named Tony Donatelli, who is just a baller. This guy, this guy played for Rochester. He played for Montreal Impact in the Champions League, and they brought him in ahead of me. He's 28 or 29 years old at the time, and I just start getting put to the side, and I'm like, "What
Mm,
do you mean? I just been starting all the games. I've been playing sweet." And he starts putting me to the side, and he's like, "Just listen to Tony. Listen to this guy." And Tony took me under his wing. He drove me around his black Cadillac CTS every training session and just like really just showed me what it was like to be a real pro. And
yeah.
yeah, we won the USL. It was wild. I scored a penalty in the semifinal to put us in the final, and everything I asked for was real. We played Portsmouth in the summertime. We drew them. I think we played Nottingham Forest. We drew them. Like, our team was unbelievable. Like, this team was Michael Azira was in our team. Andrew Dykstra was in our team. Um, Alec Khan was in our team, the goalkeeper for Atlanta. Like, these guys are ballers. Like, this was an unbelievable
Yeah.
squad. That was this. Dane Kelly was in our team. Like, these are crazy, huge baller names now. And we won the league. And once again, the ego starts to inflate.
Hmm.
And this is when the NASL was around, and Tampa Bay Rowdies had just won the NASL, and I thought, you know what, I can go up there too. I bet I can go up there. And so Mike Anhauser says, JC, I think you need maybe one more year, and then you'll be ready to go back to Europe. You'll be able to do what you want to do, but you need one more year of development. And I'm like, Mike Anhauser, I'm JC Mack. I'm the guy that just got you in the
You
final.
don't know
I'm the
nothing.
guy out here winning leagues. I get teams. You don't know nothing. Not that you've coached for 25 years, won all kinds of leagues. I go to Europe and I get teams promoted. I'm JC Mack. I think so. I go to the NASL. I go to Tampa Bay Rowdies, and they take me to the tournament to play in the Disney tournament. And I get in the game. We're playing against Montreal Impact, and I think his name's Paulo Nesta is the central defender for them. The big Italian defender played in the World Cup. This guy, he's their defender now.
Mm,
He's their center back, and everything's going okay. I'm doing all right. I'm not out of place. I'm just in and about it, squad player level at their team. And I get in this game and I look up and I see these ballers in the MLS, and I'm like, whoa. He's read me so far. I'm beating my outside back, but it doesn't matter how many times you beat him because this guy's read you. He's forced you different ways. Your level is not, you're not there yet. And I sat and thought,
mm.
oh, Mike was right. Mike was right. And Rowdies keep letting me play. They keep letting me play. And right at the very end, the last week, they bring in a guy named Georgi Ristov. And Georgi Ristov is a guy from Hungary who is an unbelievable player. And they don't even know how he showed up. He showed up at their doorstep one day and ends up becoming like their player of the year, one of the best players in the league, like just a tatted up, crazy, just Hungarian guy, just looking wow, played in the Champions League. Like this guy is just amazing. And he partners up with me our first day of training. We're doing the technical stuff, and I'm just seeing the gap between us is so far. Like he doesn't miss. I've never seen someone not take a bad touch in a technical exercise. Like not at least not
Mm.
until that point. And I thought, oh, this guy deserves this job way more than I do. And that's exactly what happened. They chose Georgie Ristov, and they said, JC, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you, but we don't have any more space for you. And I was like, okay, cool. You're out. You go from being champion of this, promotion of this, out,
Wow.
gone.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you, but I
And
wanted to ask, like, there was something that I was told this once by a coach, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Like, I know it was something I did a lot. I felt like, oh, I put in all this work, I've done all this. Like the game kind of like owes me something, Like I think I'm owed whatever it is
mm-hmm.
that I'm trying to get. And maybe it's not necessarily I'm gonna get that goal, but I don't know, and I think you're the perfect example just in the story that we've gone along so far that you probably experienced. You're like you've said, I've done all of this. I've come to Europe constantly. I've lived on a park bench. I've figured out how to get into training, and I've worked on my game tirelessly. The 500 juggles with the tennis ball. Like the list goes on and on and on. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like the game doesn't care. The game is just the game. If somebody else like, I remember
No.
one time when I was in Denmark, like I was training constantly, and there was this kid who I can't remember what he used to play for a club in the Superliga like a couple of years ago, but he had then had too many concussions, so he had to
Hmm.
stop playing for a while, and he was just kind of getting back into the game. And he just came out into the session, and like one of the first times he picks up the ball, just like takes a touch, megs me immediately, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like I've dedicated my life to this, and this guy is like coming back,
Oh.
but you can just tell like the level is different. Like you said, there's levels to this shit. That Hungarian dude that just
Yeah.
comes in out of nowhere, all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, this is
Yeah.
different gravy out here.
It really is, and you can just see that when you realize that the game will correct you as
Yeah.
much as it corrects for you. The game will correct you, and there's no way out of it but getting better. There's no way out of it but perseverance and improving. And oh man, so I'm out now. There is one piece that changed my life. So quick rewind. When
Mm.
I think I was like 15 or 16, there was a player in Columbus. His name was Diego Walsh, and he was a Brazilian player. He went to SMU in Texas, and he played in the MLS for Kansas City. But he came to Columbus, and he was just a baller, like just a silky player, and they just wouldn't let him play. And I just identified with him so much that I got his autograph, I got a picture with him. Like I just thought this guy Diego Walsh is the man. Well, years later, when I come to Charleston, I show up in the locker room, and next to my locker is this guy, Diego Walsh, and
Hmm.
I'm like, oh my god, like this is like the guy. Like I have pictures with this guy. This guy's crazy. And I let a week go by while we're playing together, and he speaks my language on the field. He wants to flow with me, do all kinds of like 1-2s in crazy ways, and I'm like, oh yeah, we speak this language. Well, a week or two goes by, and I tell him, hey, Diego, I don't know if you know, but like you were like my childhood like OG. Like I showed him the picture. I was like, yo, like, you're I don't know if you know, you're my guy. And he like smiles and he's like, oh, you really want to play? And I said, more than anything and more than all of them, more than anyone in this world. And he said, all right, come with me. Every morning he would teach me all sorts of different like Jenga, like the style of Brazil. He would teach me all sorts of little
Hmm.
Jenga techniques. So like elasticos and like sombreros over people's heads and things like that. And he would teach it to me every morning. And he had only come to play with us just because he was ready to go to Thailand. And he'd been playing in the A League and playing in Australia and just came home because his girlfriend was from Charleston just to train with us and play a couple games with us. And we could never afford Diego Walsh. Well, a couple weeks goes by, and I'm like, so what are you gonna do? He's like, well, I'm going to Thailand. I'm gonna go collect a check because my career is almost done, and then yeah, I'm gonna retire and hang out. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, fast forward to after I'm out. In my mind, I'm never out. In my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just a speed bump. This is, of course, it hurts the ego a lot. But I
Yeah.
said, well, if they're gonna put me out of the United States, there's no reason for me to ever be here. So I'm gonna go get paid now. So I'm 24 years old, and in my mind, I'm like, I deserve to get this money. I deserve to go get cashed out. Diego, what's up? So I called Diego, and I'm like, Diego, I want to go to Thailand. And he's like, all right, 1 second. He's like, I'll call you right back. Hangs up the phone. 10 minutes later, he calls me back. He's like, hey, be here on June 1st. The agent will come pick you up. Are you serious? Yeah, no problem. Click. All right. So I get all my stuff together for what day in June it was comes. I get on the flight. I'm in the middle seat on the way to China, like on a packed plane, and I'm going there. Um, on the way there, just low key side note, I see Adebayor in the airport at random. He's just hanging out, walking around, nobody bothering him. Nobody knows who he is. And I'm just looking, I'm like, and I see him in line. And I ask him in French, like, yo, can I get a picture with you? He's like, yeah. And like looking around, make sure no one else sees. I take a picture with them, like put on my Instagram, like, yeah, bro, we're going out here. We're on the right path here. And I get to Thailand. It's crazy. The journey of football has you in some wild places. But I
Yes,
get to
sir.
Thailand, and I I realize Diego is in a different universe of player than I am. Like he's already been playing in the A League, he's been playing in MLS, and I don't know why I thought that his his contact level was way higher than my profile level. So I come into the agent, he picks me up in his white Mercedes, no problem, takes me to this huge house, hooks it up, leaves me the keys, and just bounces. He's like, all right, I'll be back tomorrow. So now I'm in this huge house in Thailand after being dropped off in the crazy Mercedes. And I'm like, whoa, all right, Diego, this is lit. Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I was out of the game 2 months ago, and now I'm at the top of this crazy place in Thailand. This is lit. Well, he comes the next day, picks me up. He's like, JC, you ready? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what position do you play? I'm like, I'm a winger. And he's like, oh, we don't do wingers here. Not foreign wingers. We don't do that. You can be a striker, a center midfielder, or a center back. We don't do wingers here. We can get wingers from Thailand. We can get wingers from Asia. Like, we don't need service players. We need goal scorers. And I was like,
Mm.
whoa, I didn't know that. Okay. So this is a big error in judgment here. So I get to the training session, and it's with a team that's about to play in Champions League called Chonburi. Chonburi is a huge Nike for Life club that has massive bread. And I find out that there are only 3 spots for foreign players, plus 1 Asian player, which I am not. And I've now got to compete as a striker against players from Brazil, players from Argentina, players from Africa, and you're in it now. And I go there, I score the first day, everything's cool. Next day they're like, nah, not big enough. Next. All right. So we go to the next club. Same thing. Nah, not big enough. Next. I go to the next club, Pattaya in the league below. Score 2 goals. They're like, all right, maybe. And then literally a week later, they sign another guy and they're like, nah, JC, you're out. So this whole window's happened now. I've scored all kinds of goals, assisted all kinds of stuff, and you're just not their cup of tea. You're not exactly their type of sweets or whatever, and you're out again. Now I've been grinding and playing this whole time. I go to Asia and I'm out again.
So
And
is
I'm
this what
like,
players need to do to research before they go to a place? Like, because this was something I had heard from a player I just had on that said, yeah, in Thailand, like he was a fullback. He's like, that's not a thing. There's no foreign fullbacks in Thailand. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
are these the type of things that players need
yeah,
to research and find out before they actually go somewhere? Like, okay, how many foreigners can play here? Like, do they actually sign foreigners in my position? Is this even a possible thing, you know?
yeah. It's super important. It's super important before you go to ask for a job. You should know that job, what those job requirements are. And I didn't really
Yes.
understand at all how that worked. I just said, I want to be a foreign player. I want to be able to give this, and I want people to be able to say, oh, we've got this guy. Well, you're not going to be in that position if the model's not set up that way. And in Asia, um, everything's played on the floor, and your strikers are big, your center backs are big, and usually it's a defensive midfielder, or sometimes you'll get a number 10 like Diego, a creative player. But it's not wingers and fullbacks are not a thing because they can produce them themselves. They feel so. I went there expecting to be a winger, and they
Mm.
were like, "No, you're a center forward." And I thought, well, I haven't been a center forward since I was 16 years old. Like this is crazy, and that was a massive error that I wish I could have remembered or I could have researched more into, and maybe there would have been a different outcome. Maybe I could have trained for it differently and started working on just one touch finishing, things like that. But it's definitely important that players that want to do that recognize what that particular region of the world needs and what the requirements are. Because if you go there prepared to fulfill an exact position, you could be so successful, like super successful. And it might be the difference between having to be a journeyman or becoming a master in a mastery stage by just identifying and executing on that
Mm.
little piece. Um, so yeah, so I'm out at this point now. So I go back to Ohio to my best friend's basement, and I'm sitting there like, what am I gonna do now? I get teams promoted. I win
The highs
leagues.
and
I
the
go on
lows,
TV
man,
in
the
Thailand.
absolute roller coaster.
It's crazy, and I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do, and so I started just going to anything and everything, all the tests, like the soccer visas, the tour companies. I start just going and going and going and going. And finally, there was a guy in Chicago named Brett Hall. He's a small little Mongolian guy, Mr. Miyagi character. And he has a company called Bridges. And what they do is they send players, they have a team that they put together, and they go to Europe and sell all their players off. And they have a really big success rate with this, usually in Scandinavia. And So I go up there in Chicago and I start training with them, living with them, playing with them, and everything's going great. We play Indy 11, beat them. We play all the USL teams, Dayton, all these guys, and we're smashing all them out. We go to Europe and we go to Denmark first to play Habakuya, and we go to Sweden. Well, we go to Sweden, and I get in, and I'm starting to play sweet now. Now I'm back up after being humbled again. The game has corrected me now to be on a good even keel. And I go to Sweden. Everything's dope. I play with Eco Sirius, who's trying to get promoted to the Allsvenska from the Superettan, from the second league. And I thought, that's what I do. I'm a service player. You have a big man striker. I can help you do that. So I go there, start playing sweet, scoring. Everything's going great. I start to do something dumb. I start to get a little bit swaggerific about it. And I try to do a Gareth Bale where I knock the ball down the line and run outside the track. And there's a track that goes around the
Mm.
pitch, and I slip on the track as I'm going around. I don't even have to do anything more. I'm about to sign the deal. I'm just trying to show them, like, oh, I'm the guy. I slip on the track and I get a sports hernia. You're out. Back to the drawing board. You just spent these 2 years doing all of this stuff. You're out. And I just thought, all right, well, the universe needs the ego to calm down. The universe needs all this to stop. So I go back, I get the surgery, everything's cool. My mom's working at Ohio State, so I just walk in pretty much to Ohio State. They hook up the surgery. I'm freaking out. I'm like, Doc, am I going to play again? He's like, I got like 5 more of these today. Don't worry, you're fine. And I just I get in and out, and I recover, and I go to Finland, and there's this incredible human being named Mike Keeney
Wait,
who
before
sees me.
before you go into Finland, I have to stop you because I have to ask
Yeah.
like how do you have the resolve to like, cause man, I mean, I talked to a lot of players and but you're one who's been through a lot, right? And like, so how do you just have that moment of, and I'm sure in the actual time when you're experiencing, there's probably a lot more that goes into it than we can even discuss in in our
Oh
podcast.
yeah.
But like, boom, you get hit with a rejection, and okay, it's back to the drawing board. Let's figure it out again. Boom, get hit with something else, or an injury, or this, or that, or the other.
Yeah.
Like, how are you able to then just say, all right, I'm going to wake up the next morning, I'm going to tie my shoes the same way I did yesterday, and we're going to go make this happen?
It's not easy. It's not easy. And I think one of the what it there's a quote that I used to think about all the time that my mom used to tell me about. If you want to take the island, you need to burn the boats. So like if you want to go
Mm,
succeed, there cannot be a plan B. There cannot be a second option. And I think in my head there was no plan B. There was no second, oh well I can just hang out and I'll go work for Nationwide, or I'll go work for my friend's parents. Or in my head there was never a second option available, and I didn't allow any second option to become any type of idea. Though there's what Napoleon said. There's only the objective. All obstacles must make way. There is no other option. So when you wake up in the morning and your belief system just says, "This is who I am. This is what I'm going to be, and this is how we're going to get there." It doesn't matter if you break your knee, your ankle, your whole life goes on. This is reality, and I choose to believe in this reality. And unless and until I can't breathe anymore, this is what it is. And what I see up here will be here if I hold it long enough. And I think because I watched my mom do it, because I've seen a lady go from living in a homeless shelter bagging groceries with 2 kids to PhD baller living in the mountain in a
yeah.
log cabin kicking it, Zoom calling me. I've watched it in front of my eyes. My struggle seems so small. Like, oh, you're on a park bench. Click, good luck. And I think from that
Yeah.
from that moment, I look around and I take great pride in it today. when I go to play in games even now, I look across the pitch from someone and I'll try to look at them in their eyes and just see, and I'm like, you're I'm gonna destroy you today. Like you're not able, you were not able to fathom the depth. And maybe they have, but in my head I'm building it up like, would you sleep on a park bench for days? Would you go to the jungle of Thailand? Would you go and clean abandoned buildings of would you really? I think today I'm going to eat you up. And I think it's going to be something like over and over and over. I'm going to get the ball one on one, and you may win once, you may win twice, but I my reality stays here because I know what the
Mm.
foundation was. So there's no one in my head, unless they're playing like in the Premier League or they're playing like something crazy, that I could look around and be like, you're not willing to do what I was willing to do. You're not as hungry as I am. And so I'm going to win today. Maybe not today, but I'll win tomorrow or the next day and it'll happen. And I think holding that and having watched it my whole youth, it it changes how you think. It changes a lot of things. And I think that's something we should do with American players is we need to go get the ones from the hood. We need to go get the ones from
Mm.
rural Appalachia. We need to go get the ones from Florida in the hood, the ones from California in the barrio, because those are the ones that are just like the Brazilians, just like the kids in South America, that they'll be able to say, I don't think you understand what hunger is. I don't think you really understand what it would
Yeah.
require to get where I'm trying to go. And that is what I held on to
Yep.
a lot. I held on to that and it made the difference. There's a lot of days you're just crying there and there's no evidence around you of what you are, what you think. And if you hold it, it will arrive. It will arrive. So yeah. Oh yeah, Finland.
Yes, we're on to Finland now. Sorry, we took a quick
Yeah,
detour.
man. No, man, I love it. Please feel free to interject because this is a my life is like a wild story. So please feel free. Any questions, give them to me. I definitely want to respond to what your thoughts are from the outside for sure. Um, so I go to
Yeah.
Finland, and also an unbelievable country, incredible. I love Finland. It's great. And Mike Keeney, one of the best mentors I have ever had, is there, and he's asked me to come. So I show up, and I just see this big, heavy set dude with this deep American accent, and I'm like, who is this guy? And
Mm.
I go back to the room, and I'm like googling this guy, and I'm like, oh, this guy, this guy knows what he's talking about. This guy is just like me. He's just like me. He's willing to do whatever
He's
it
a grinder,
requires
man.
to be successful. This guy,
Yeah.
and oh my God, this guy, like, I just would realize every day I went to training, I'm like, we are the same. And you have the same goal as me to become the best you can be in your trade. And every single day we would go to work, we go to training, and this team had just got promoted. And our goal was to give them league security. And so every day we would go in, he'd work, and he hated this, but we would play free kick football. So we would just stop the game, get free kicks, get throw in set pieces, win the game. That's it. My whole job was just to assist people, put them in positions to get fouled, put them in positions to whatever style we needed to play. Mike will have brought it up in his head, figured it all out, planned the session for it, and then for that game, execute exactly with players that we couldn't even count on to do it, that just hard work grinders. He would execute to where we didn't need to do a whole lot. We just stayed within the system and we would find a way to stay in the league. And it worked. And I had so much
Mm.
respect for this guy. I was like, this is a genius. And not many people are going to be able to see it outside. This guy is a brilliant mind. And after that season, Tim Murray is another one you might want to speak with as well. Tim Murray is a goalkeeper who played for Ekenes. He played for Honka. He's a New England Revolution boy from Boston. He's probably as close to Peaky Blinders boy as you're going to get. but he's a goalkeeper that just amazing goalkeeper that really did the same thing we were doing. Um, and he came up and he got a deal in the Premier League. Mike went to Heathkey. I went to Iceland, and because of Mike, he was able to instill in us like follow your plan, continue to grind it out, and you will be successful. And Boris Tartar, another guy from the same team, he ended up going to Lazio from that team. All four of us ended up getting places. So I can never be more appreciative of Mike Heaney. Like this guy's genius, and his story is amazing. I can never say anything but sing his praises. He's amazing. So at this point, I go to Iceland, and I'm still feeling all
What is it
right.
about
Like I'm
Iceland
playing.
that there's like there's like you always find I feel like every year you hear of like kind of a new little batch of American players, or maybe even if it's just one American player, like there's a certain there's a certain essence to Iceland, and I'm curious to kind of
Yeah.
get more insight from you on it. Like, why is that a place where maybe Americans or foreigners can go and like have a little bit of success? Because like on the outside looking in, it's such a small country. I know obviously they've made more of a name from themselves from the World Cup from a few
Mhm.
years ago, but like just I guess what is it about Iceland? You know?
So Iceland, number one, is beautiful. First and foremost, it is. It might be more beautiful than Denmark, to be honest. It's crazy. Everyone speaks English. Um, the level is high. The money is very good. Um, their housing and everything
Mm,
is very good. Their setup is good. Their government is good. Their social economic structure is good. It's a beautiful place if you want to go work on your trade. You could not be in a better place. One of the things I was measuring for was what country can I go to where I can make my profile as big as possible, as quick as possible, that has a level of football that's good enough, that I'm good enough for, and has as many levels within their system to where you can flow between them if you show up well. So if you, for example,
mhm,
if you go to France and you're playing in the third league or fourth league of France, the probability of you getting to Ligue 1 is it's not small, but it's very, very difficult. It's same with England, the same with um, like Italy and Portugal. It can be done, but it's very difficult. Whereas in Scandinavia, they
mm,
scout within their leagues. And in Iceland, if you scout within your leagues, there's only 8 of you in the whole country. So why that would be a really good place for you to blow your name up and blow
yeah,
your profile up. And so I went to Iceland to do that, and I just assumed they had more money than per team than they did in Finland, and I found that mind-boggling at first until I spoke to a couple players like that. But when you go to Iceland, there's not a whole lot for you to do besides get better. If you go to a team in the mountain or you go to a team in the province, all you have all day is all the materials that you need to just get better. And my goal when I went to Iceland was I need to get better. I want to go back to Asia and get paid was my first thought. And I need to
mm.
be able to produce a better product to sell to Asia. And so that's what I did. I went to Iceland. I signed with Selfos for 2 seasons, and incredible. I met some incredible Spanish players. We were playing tiki taka football at this team in the province of Iceland, moving the ball around. We went to Spain for preseason, playing against them, balling against them. We had 3 Spanish players in our team. One of them's a scout for Valladolid now, Pacho Martinez. He's a crazy player, or he was a crazy player. And we played tiki taka football and ended up in the semifinal of the FA Cup with a team in the second league. We were just like, imagine if we have to play Europa League qualification from the second division. Like imagine that. Imagine all
Mm.
these type of this would be crazy. But the level was very high, and I played there a couple seasons and did really well. I finished top goal scorer, top assist, everything I asked for, just working every day. And then the ego starts to build again, and I believe that I
Ah, it
deserve
comes
this Asia
again.
money. Yeah, it is a menace. And so I say I want to go to Asia. So I call the agent again, and I say, Jackie, I'm coming. And he's like, all right, I'll be there. So I show up. He takes me back to Chonburi again, the Nike champion of Ballers Champions League. And I go there, and I'm playing really well. But on the sideline, there's a coach from Indonesia. His name is Simon McKinney. He's a Scottish coach who's coaching for the champion of Indonesia. And he hears my accent, and he went to school in the United States. So he hears my accent when I'm speaking. And the next day, I get a phone call, random phone call on my WhatsApp. And he's like, hey, is this JC Mack? And I'm like, yeah, who's this? He's like, my name's Simon McKinney. Would you like to come play in the King's Cup in Indonesia? And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm the head coach of Bayangkara, the champion of Indonesia. Would you like to come play with us in this tournament? We'll cash you out. You can come play here with us. And if you do really well, we'll sign you for the whole season. And I was like, absolutely. What do I do? He's like, check your email in a little bit. I got you. What the fuck? And I was just like, I'm about to go play with the champion of Indonesia in a tournament in Indonesia. Oh my God, this is everything I asked for. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like all these years, I'm freaking out, scraping stuff, doing wild things, and I finally get it. And I'm like, I'm under no illusions that they're going to sign me for the whole year. I'm under no illusions of that, as I'm not a center striker. They are introducing a 4-4-2 diamond to Indonesia, which is how they won the league. And they have two strikers. And so he said, we want you to go play up top with our other big African striker and help just be in and around him. And I thought, okay. So I go there. They put me on a first class seat on Malaysia Airlines. I stop in Malaysia, hang out, get a shower, take a nap. Like literally 4-hour flight. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, oh, this is sweet. And I get there, go to training, unbelievable. I'm playing great. I realize like this is my style of football. The coach is backing me. I score a couple goals, couple assists. Everything's going great. We get in the tournament, and we're playing well. I'm playing well, and I didn't realize this is Indonesia. There's 150 million people in Indonesia. They don't play anything but football. Everywhere you go, everyone's going to know who you are. Everywhere you walk, it's real time now. And so we go to play in the first game,
Mm.
and I'm playing in the muddiest game I've ever seen in my life in the middle of the jungle. And there's like 70,000 people in the stadium, at least 70. And
Oh my God.
it's super muddy. All you hear is, yeah. You can feel the locker room shaking. And I'm sitting here just sweating. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to go in this game. This is everything I asked for. It's raining down. There's mud everywhere. Everybody's singing. Everybody's losing their mind. Police are everywhere. You're on TV. There's probably 20 million people watching on TV. It's everything I dreamt about since I was like 10. It's all real.
It's that
And
next
I
scene
get
from the
subbed.
movie like we were talking about before. It's like you do the quick cuts to when you were scraping the stuff in the house and now boom, you're here.
You're here. And I'm getting chills right now trying to remember it. Like eh, the biggest moment I'd ever felt in football.
Mm.
And I get in the game, and it's they sub me into the game, and it's just this mud pit. And I get in the game, we score, and I feel the ground shake. I'd never felt like in Iceland it's good, like there's a lot of people, but I'd never properly felt the ground physically shake beneath my feet before. And I thought, this is what you guys do every week for years, like to feel it like this. I get the ball comes over the top. I go to serve it, and the guy misses. The big man striker misses barely, and everyone's freaking out. It's like, oh, JC can do something. The game ends as a draw, but the next day, I go to the noodle shop with one of my teammates, and there's people filming us, and I thought, why are they filming? Oh, we were on TV last night in front of the whole
Oh, it
country.
clicks.
I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like, they don't know who I am really, but they know I'm playing. And it all clicked together. Well, long story. They bring a Brazilian striker who's phenomenal, by the way. His name is David da Silva. He's a big, like, mixed Brazilian boy, and he's so fast, and he just scores crazy goals. And we played against Tokyo FC, and he scores a penalty in the last few minutes, and they sign him. They're like, JC, thank you so much. Appreciate you. They hand me 2 envelopes full, like, at least this thick, full of cash, like all in white envelopes, just full of cash. And I was like, oh my God, this is wild. Like, it was, I took a video of it because I didn't believe it in my eyes. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what I came for. We did it. We played in front of all the people. We got the money we wanted. We got the prestige we wanted. I got to feel what I wanted to feel. And I got it all. What do we do now? Everybody's closed now. Well, we got to go back to Iceland. That's where we live. So I go back to Iceland. And a team in the north of Iceland called Vestri. They're a big fishing town, and they have a lot of money for their league. And I thought, well, there's no one else. There's no teams in the Premier League that are available for me to play for. And they said, we'll give you a deal to come here and play for us
Mhm.
and get us promoted, because that's what my repertoire is usually. So I go up there, and I'm devastated. I get there, and I'm like, how did you end up here? Oh my God, you're in a fish town in the furthest north of, it's the second furthest north town on earth. Like, you're in the middle of a fjord somewhere. And they treated me amazing. They were paying me more money than all the other teams could pay. Like, they were paying all our team way more money from the fish company than anyone could pay. Like, we were known as like the rich team. We're up in the top of the league about to get promoted. And I'm crying. I'm devastated. Just being an ego clown. Just tired thinking I deserve something more than this. And mind you, I still have
Hmm.
wads of cash just chilling in the bag, like, relaxed. I have no reason to be sad at all for any reason. And people would kill to be able to have the scenario that I had. They'd be losing their mind. And I'm sitting here crying, believing I should have more. I should do more. And it was terrible on the inside.
For
But
example, if you
we,
if you when you were a younger player, like if you were in that scenario when you were in France or you were in the States in your early years and you were able to kind of
mhm.
look ahead a little bit into maybe a telescope and see that that was what you were doing, playing in Iceland and having just come off the Indonesian, do you think you would look at it and be like, "Wow, I had made it"? And isn't that so funny how the
Yeah,
game works in those ways where now you're actually in it and you're like, but I should be doing something better. The goalpost
it
keeps
would.
moving when you're a player.
It does. It does. And that's what I thought too. If I was 16 years old and you had told me, like, yeah, you're gonna go to Indonesia and play and come back to Iceland, they're gonna give you a deal without an issue, and you're gonna be their marquee player and walk around like your town and live safe in one of the best countries in the world, I would have been like, yeah, I'll take that deal right now. And as soon as I get up there, I'm like, oh my God, I believe I should be playing it so much better. I'm such an artistic baller. I should do it. Like, shut up. Like, you need to get your mind right and handle this work. And I I wish that I had that. I mean, it helps to push the cart a little bit, to have a little bit of that. But like, I was so
Mm,
dramatic in my belief system at the time that I just believed I deserved all this because I worked so hard and I gave so much and I cared so much more. And it was during that period that I really discovered what I'm actually meant to do. I discovered that I'm not meant to be the star of somebody's team. I'm meant to be the best teammate to other people. And that was a
mm,
realization that really shifted everything for me. Was I go to Asia, you're not a star. You're a great teammate and you can build environments that everybody wants to be around. And it's positive and joyful and you assist people and you make other players better in the trainings and you don't negatively speak about them. You build them up. This is where your power is, not you trying to be egotistical and want to be the guy all the time. And at that team in Iceland, I realized that's what you are. And so I started to make myself a proper assist merchant and just assist after assist after assist after assist, building people up, making other players better. And right when you correct yourself, the game corrects for you. And I get a phone call
mm.
from the national team. at 4 in the morning, and I pick up the phone, and mind you, I've been eligible for a long time. I called them in 2014 to let them know I'm eligible, I want to play, but they weren't ready to. The federation wasn't ready to go about it. Well, they just got a new coach who had gone through all the logs, who went through all the eligible players in the world that they had, and they said, "Oh yeah, JC's been trying to get a hold of us forever, and it never got back to me." Well, I get a phone call. And he's like, JC Mack? I said, yep. He's like, hi, this is Lashati from the national team. We'd like you to come to the camp. And I'm like, when is it? In 2 weeks. All right, we'll send you tickets. Click. And I'm like, I'm about to play for my national team. This is mind boggling. I'm
Hmm.
about to play for the national team. And so I go to the camp. I meet the new head coach. He's from Brazil. His name is Marcelo Serrano. He was the head coach of Austin Bold for the last couple of years. And
Okay.
he brought me to the camp. I met all them, and I said, "This is what I'm meant to be." The level's not there yet. There's all kinds of players. Like there's guys that we have whose parents are from the Virgin Islands, whose grandmother's from the Virgin Islands, who moved there and lived there for 2 or 3 years, or whatever it was. And so they're from all over the place. We've got guys from the island that like born and bred St. Croix, born and bred St. Thomas, and I had just come in, and I was just like, all right, what is it? Show me what's up. I go to St. Thomas, and I'm like, we need to learn about this. We need to learn about this. So I go into the museums. I go ride the dollar van. I go around talking to everyone I can talk to. I, I'm in there trying to fully feel what it means to be a Virgin Islander. Because like I grew up as the single mom. I don't know anything about any of that. So I'm really recreating for myself, like this is what my reality is going to be. This is what the new life's work is going to be, is building this national team, because now you know what it feels like to be down low. You know what it means to be a service player in service to other humans. And this is now the greatest gift that's fallen in your lap that you've been waiting for. And now you're prepared to finally do it. And so we come out to the Nations League qualification, and we play in Canada as our first game against Canada. Mind you, this is Alfonso Davies and Junior Hoylett and Kyle Laren. They're all starting this game. Osorio, they're all
Mhm.
starting. And I'm in the locker room, we're getting ready, and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen right now. But I know whatever it is, we're going to get through it, and it's going to be a historic day. They vote me the captain for the game. And my first national team game, I trade the flag with Scott Arfield of Rangers, and I'm the captain of my national team against Canada. And I go in the bathroom and I'm like crying. I'm
Wow.
like, I can't believe I would never have imagined that that could even be possible. And I trade the flag and everything just goes blank. I remember I tried to race Alfonso Davies like 2, 3 times, like a dummy. Like I thought that was going to be a good decision. Like for some reason, I get I get the ball and like step over it and make him go the wrong way. And I'm like, yeah, you're still a 17-year-old boy. Let's be serious. I tap the ball down the line, and as soon as I go to serve it, I just feel both my legs just slice out from under me. And I'm like, oh my, he's super fast. Like this guy is so fast. But we lose 8-0, as most teams do at that level of CONCACAF. But we go on and keep playing. We play Curacao, we play Barbados, we play all these games, and I'm really getting closely knit with who are my brothers now. These are my brethren, my people. And the
Hmm.
season ends in Iceland. I go to St. Thomas again, and I stay there again. And I'm sitting here like, wow, I'm really doing this now. And I'm deciding I'm going back to Iceland, but this time I want a trophy. I don't want just to be around. I want a trophy. And whether it be in the first division or in the Premier League or whatever, I want a trophy. Like I've won the USL now. It's time for me to do something. So I go back and I sign this, playing a preseason tournament with Keflavik, a team that didn't have any money at the time, but I was going to come help. And Vikingur Reykjavik, who's historically been like a club that's not very successful, has a real negative mentality inside the locker room, real negative vibe about it. And they just hadn't been winning for years, 30 years, they hadn't won a trophy. And I didn't have any other options left. And I just thought, well, I guess I'm just going to be out. And the coach calls me and is, do you want to come play for Vikinger? I've just taken the head coaching job here. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I want to come play for Vikinger in the Pepsi League. Absolutely. I want to do that. And so he's like, all right, cool. Come tomorrow. I come to training. I play sweet. Surprisingly, I didn't know that I was going to be able to play at that level because it's super fast. It's very technical. It's the Pepsi League is not a joke league. It is not a, the Pepsi League is probably not far off the MLS. Like I would not put the Pepsi League far off the MLS. Like at least the top tier teams. And
Wow.
it, it,
Hmm.
it, it and the style we were playing now was just all everything on the floor moved the ball around. But what Arna did is he brought me in not just to play football, but to be a good teammate. And to hear that from someone to
Mm.
say, you're a good player, yeah, but you're not the best player we have. You are a good teammate and you can help us change that piece of our locker room. You can help change that piece. So I come in, I what the first game I score a crazy banger in the preseason game. I'm like, oh, this is bad boy time. Let's go. The next game I score 2 goals again. Oh, sweet. Go to Spain, score again. I'm like, yo, we're on right now. This is lit. And I go to the national team, score again. Like this is the best trajectory ever. And I'm like, I could not ask for anything more. We go to play a game in the first or second game of the season. Boom, injured. I tore my calf.
Mm.
And I spend almost the whole season just trying to get back right. And my hamstring would go, and my calf would go, and then I'd play 2 or 3 games, and we get into the cup, and I'd play a game in the cup and another game in the cup, and I just couldn't get consistent. But right when it was time for me to come in, we're losing in the cup match in a quarterfinal, and he's like, JC, I need you to go in and do something. I go in, just cause a bunch of chaos. We end up winning the game 3-2 while being down 2-0. And 3 games later, we're champion of Iceland, FA Cup champion. And I got everything I asked for. I got the trophy I wanted forever. They're now in Europa League.
Mm.
I have a 2-year deal. I'm about to play Europa League as captain of the national team. I was scraping stuff out of an abandoned building. I'm about to play Europa League qualification as as captain of the Virgin Islands. What?
Where do
Like
all these kind of
how?
moments or some of these experiences rank in your in your Mount Rushmore of, I know you mentioned one of the first ones that you can think of is that first French check, right? That first French paycheck when you
Oh,
saw your name on it. And now I'm sure the national team when you're putting on that jersey for the first time and then you get the captain's band and hoisting the cup in Iceland, like where are some of the moments where you kind of look if you were to look back at the highlight reel of your career, like I got to put these couple at the top.
oh man. The the top of the top would be, to be honest, it was just 2 weeks ago. To be honest, it was 2 weeks ago with the
Wow.
national team.
Yeah.
Um, the top of the top. We won our first game at home in the history in 95th minute penalty to win it 3-2, and to see all of my teammates bawling, to see my coach that had been working on it for
Yeah.
years to finally turn. That's number one. Um, Number two, probably captaining the first game. Number three is winning the FA Cup. It's up there, but my contribution in the FA Cup wasn't as large as I wanted it to be. I wanted to be more
Mm.
impactful instead of just coming in to cause chaos for us to find a way in, or to just be thrown in a cup game here, a cup game there, a league game here. Like just the injuries that I kept getting, um, just really disrupted it. So it took a little bit away from the feeling of it. But I mean, we did get it. It's sitting over there on the wall now. It's kind of sweet, but it's not as sweet as I would I would like it to feel. But yeah, those it's up there.
Yeah.
Those are up there. The first check from France was the best. Yeah, it was the best money field next to Indonesia. I kind of felt
Yeah.
like FIFA money from Indonesia, but it's the first one was probably the best. But yeah, it felt like Seth Blatter money for a minute there. But no, it was. I
Like,
think
are you sure I'm
those are the
supposed to have this
top.
envelope full of cash right now?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. It was definitely an unbelievable feeling. It felt real similar. I promise you that. It felt real similar, just in different
Uh,
denominations. Um, but no, the so after the season in Vikinga, we I go to the head coach, and now we're in Europa League, in the Europa League qualification, and
mhm.
I've been injured. I'm playing well when I play, but just not consistent. And I'm 31 years old now, so they want to bring in a lot of young players for the next phase of building this club. And so he calls me in the office, and my heart is like a little bit sinking, a little bit. I'm like, I know this is going to be a little frustrating. But at this point, I reached out to Diego again and asked him about Australia and New Zealand. And I said, Diego, what's going on over
Yeah.
here? He's like, it's great. It's really, really good. It's a great place to play. At your age, it's a great place to live. And if you don't want to live on a cold rock and get
Mm.
citizenship in Iceland, New Zealand is a country built for immigrants for you to come to. It's what the United States was supposed to be when they started it. And I thought, all right, I think I could do that. And so I called one of my friends who was playing for the coach that Diego played for, and he helped me come over. And so they were initially going to send me on a loan to New Zealand for the loan period, and then we won the league. And they were like, or we won the FA Cup. And they said, JC, we love it. We love you so much. We appreciate everything you've given to the club. You will always be a Vikinger forever. We're going to take your salary that for next year, and we want to give that to 2 or 3 young players so we can continue to build this. Would you like to go and live in New Zealand permanently? And with my heart was like beating out my chest, like this is the guy who believed in me when I was up in the mountain, and he wouldn't say this to me unless he really
Mm.
believed that this is something good for my career and good for me as a human. And I said, you know what? Yeah, I think it's time for me to make that move. I've been here 4 years. I've already been doing all this crazy stuff. Let's go move to a place where we can impact something and live our life for us too, not just to be giving and giving and giving and giving and giving and then not live how I want to live.
Mm.
And he said, I think that's a place for you to do it. So I moved to New Zealand, and now my life is sweet. It is incredible here. I love it so much. Like I could not, I could not complain at all. I play for Napier City Rovers now, which is like I would
Mhm.
say over the history, it's one of the most historical clubs in the country. 5 FA Cups, all kinds of league titles. They're probably Auckland City. Obviously, is the biggest. You have Wellington Phoenix in the A League, but it's really us and 5 or 6 other teams that are historically based. And I live in a province of Hawke's Bay, which is by the ocean. So I just live here. Me and my girlfriend live here in this wonderful home by the seaside. And I play for Napier and go to the national team. And I thought, Arno was right. He was right. This is what happens when you listen to your superiors when they tell you stuff. And ever since I moved here, I've not regretted it one day. Not one day.
That's amazing to
That's
hear,
the
man. I'm curious. The You kind of alluded to it there. In Iceland, it's as you mentioned, it's maybe living a little bit on a cold rock for a couple years and
yeah.
just bouncing around for all those years. Like, what do you like? the game is amazing, right? We love the game. That's why you've chased it the way you've chased it. But like, what do you have to kind of give up? Like, what are some of the things that you've had to sacrifice that now maybe you get to experience a little bit more in a whole way when you're living in New Zealand with your girlfriend, you know?
Everything. You give up everything. You give up first. You must be willing to give up your language. You must be willing to give
Mm,
up all of your money. You have to be willing to give up your sanity. Um, I feeling a sense of home. You have to be willing to give that up. Um, there's so many girls, alcohol, drugs, um, everything. You have to, and mind you, partying is super fun. Everybody wants to go hang out and do cool stuff all the time, go to the beach, kick it. You have to be willing to give up all that. Um, and a lot of people will get hung up on, well, I want to stay at home. I want to be close to home. Um, and I'm like, sometimes that's not where the miracles are. That's not where the success is. It's not always right next to your house. You may have to go to the jungle of Thailand to go find it, and it may not even be there. You may have to go to the jungle of Thailand to find out how to get to it. And if you're willing to give up all the time, all the being comfortable, I think that's the number one thing is how comfortable are you with being uncomfortable? If you can get cozy
mm.
with being uncomfortable, the game will correct for you. It will. And it will be able, as Patu says, destiny will find you if you're able to give up comfort. And this is the first time of my whole career that I'm comfortable. Like it's
Yeah.
it's crazy to feel. And I think if you're willing to give up all those things, at the very end, you may not be a bajillionaire, you may not be famous, but all of the things that you ask for, they will show up if you're willing to give up all of the things that are not in alignment with that. And that's one thing I truly believe. And I hope I represent for younger players that come up in an untraditional fashion.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that because it's something that I get. I don't get frustrated by the conversation anymore because I think and I don't want to just say that they're normal civilians because everybody's normal, even if you're not a footballer. But
The muggles, you
when
mean?
somebody
The
will ask me,
muggles?
they're like, yeah, the muggles, sure. When they're like, well, why can't you just, stay in America? Or what if you were able to live near your family and still be able to play? And I'm like, yeah, that would be amazing. That would be unbelievable. But
Mm-hmm.
I know what it actually takes. I know that it's not just as simple as, okay, this is where my family is, and I also want to play, so it's gonna work. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you said in the very top. Like I say it to a lot of people, and I don't think people understand it. Like the U.S. isn't really a very conducive market for the underground players, for the players like
Mm-hmm.
yourself who have to kind of grind their way through it and have to figure out a way to make it. It's just it's not like it's I said it to somebody the other day. I was like, it's almost like saying that you want to be an actor and you want to be in big movies and but like you live in Omaha, Nebraska. And then,
Yeah, yeah.
you're like, okay,
That's
but I can
exactly what
just
it
do it
is.
here in Nebraska. It's like, no, you if you want to be in movies, you got to go to LA, just point blank period.
Yeah.
So there is this
Yeah.
level of like sacrifice and can you give things up to be able to go and make it happen?
I think that's the great filter in a way. It filters a lot of them out. And
Mm,
one of the things I've found is if you can outlast all of these filters of people that are like, oh, I don't want to go over here, or I don't I don't feel like getting up and going and shoveling chicken shit all day to get money to go there. Okay, okay, thank you. You are now removed, and
yeah.
now I'm closer to where I need to be because I don't need to compete with you now. Like it's, I would get excited when I would see players that would say, "Oh, no, I think I'm going to stop," or "Oh, this is so hard," or guys that would be like, "Oh, it's political." Like a lot of the time, I would run into
Mm.
guys that would make excuses. And I used to be one of them when I was young, when I was 16, 17. Oh, I don't know why I'm not in the US national team. I'm getting in the OD I'm in the regional team. I'm in the ODP national pool. Why am I not getting in the national team? I want to go to IMG. I should be in residency. This is so political. You're from Ohio. They don't take players from no. At the end of the day, make them come face you over there. Make them have to come get you from France. Make them have to come get you from Denmark. And then who's going to look silly? That's the idea. And if you're playing politics over here in an environment that's not conducive to young players' growth, you're you're wasting time. And I viewed that in that way from a younger age, about 23, 24, and I would just revel in the people that would make excuses because I would look around them and just say,
Mm.
"Man, you're not ready to give what it requires. You're ready to give an excuse. Are you ready to give results? Are you ready to go and do stuff that's not fun to get to where you want to go? And if you're not, I'll get excited because then there's a chance for me to swoop all those places up, even if it's just one at a time. And I love this podcast because you see all of these other players that are willing, that are hungry, that were ready to give anything and everything, and they're in an environment that's not even conducive to it. I was thinking, what if some of these guys grew up in Portugal? If they grew up in England, they would be smashing everybody out. Like they would just be rising on their own. And I wish that we could get younger players to go over there and stay over there and have that same mentality with an environment that's able to allow you to grow. Because if you give an American player an opportunity, oh boy, you end up you get Clint Dempsey's like that. You get a kid from Nogales, Texas, or wherever. You don't want that.
Yep.
That's you end up with problems all over Europa League like that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I think I heard something interesting. It's a different field, but it was a comedian that I like, and he was talking to Joe Rogan on his podcast, and he said like when he was kind of coming up that Joe Rogan told him you have to be undeniable. He was like, you should get on Netflix. You should do a Netflix comedy special. And he was like, how the hell am I going to do that? And he was like, you have to
Schulte,
be undeniable. And he was like, what is that? He's like,
yeah,
what does that mean? And he's like, just be undeniable. And I think like listening to your story and kind of having this as we summarize here, kind of what we've talked about, I think that kind of embodies a little bit of what you looked at the game as. It was like it just
yeah,
became this point of like, okay, I just have to be undeniable. I have to make everyone come to me. I have to just it doesn't matter about the politics. It doesn't, because that's the thing. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The moment I hear somebody go, "Oh, it's all political," it's like, all right, just see ya. Like, of course it's fucking
yeah,
political.
yeah,
Like, I don't know
yeah,
what to tell you. Like, you just have to be undeniable. You just have to keep showing up and keep showing up, and somebody's gonna slam a door in your face. You go knock on another one. They're gonna slam that door. You go knock on
yes.
another one. Until all of a sudden you're on a
Oh,
team. That's it. That's all there is to it. I'll say
that's
it time and time
a
again on
hundred
this podcast.
percent. That's 100%. Be undeniable. That's exact. I want to say that it was Andrew Schultz I was talking to Brogan about. I remember hearing that, and I was like,
Yes.
"That's
Yes.
exactly right. It's exactly right." And they're in the same game we are. They're selling a product that is based on high level skill that not everyone can do. They're comedians, artists, um,
Mm.
even chefs and like skilled laborers, technicians. I view them the same. And by being undeniable to the point that we can't ignore this guy. Why is he at our door? Oh, we just seen him here. We see him here. He's training here. He's always in front of our face, constantly over and over, to the point that now he's in front of us playing against us. Oh, we've just lost 2-0.
Mm.
Hold on a second. If you do that enough, all of these players can do it. But you're exactly right. Being undeniable. If you decide that you will not be denied and there's no other option, the game will make way for you. It will make way for you. As hard as it is to make way, it will do it. And I've been able to watch it happen, and I'm so proud to be able to tell people about it because it's not. just me. It's very little of it. It's actually me doing it. It's other people that influenced me and made me believe something that produced this end product. And one of them was that being undeniable.
Mm.
Be undeniable. That's exactly how you're going to get through, because there's so many that want to do it, and many of them will say no. Many of them will walk away. And no, I don't think you could have summed it up better. Schultz, he's the man. Schultz, he's the man.
He is. He is. Well, I appreciate you so much for sharing your story. I know you said that you appreciate kind of giving that blueprint or giving that ideas to younger players out there. But I really appreciate it as well. We'll definitely have to do a part two because we are approaching, as I mentioned, Rogan. We are approaching that Rogan territory of those those
No,
long
of course,
episodes.
of
But
course.
because I could listen to it all day, but I want to make sure we keep our listeners engaged. But a part two is definitely going to be on the books.
Of course. No, I appreciate you. And anytime, anytime. You get me on New Zealand time, and I'm here for it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Gonna do it, folks, for the episode with JC. Just I don't even have words for that one, man. It was so much fun recording, so much fun listening to his story, and really inspirational. And I hope you guys got the same out of it as well, because I know I had a lot of fun doing that one. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for your continued support. Um, yeah, that's really all I have to say. Like I said at the top, if you liked the episode, if you liked the podcast itself, please continue to share it, continue to spread the word about it, share it on your socials, tell friends about it, tell teammates about it, tell a player that you know that you think it might be a good fit for, because I really think stories like this are super valuable for anybody who loves football to hear. If you want to be a professional footballer, if you want to be really anything regarding the game, I know I'm biased, but I think that stories like this are going to inspire you, motivate you, guide you, whatever you might be looking for. I think that we got something over here at the 11 podcast. So once again, I will thank you. I will thank JC Mack for jumping on and sharing his story, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.